We're finally here. We're going to talk about value, and we're going to talk about value in relationship to volumetric shading. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means shading across volumes or forms, okay? Exactly what we've been doing. So there should be no question as our path has taken us from line to shape to form and now to value. How are we going to fake those three-dimensional forms so that they look like they're actually there? Let's try to tackle that today. I'm going to show you a picture real quick which shows you volumetric shading. And this image of the sphere that's been shaded is going to be our guide to how we understand shading across a volume, and in this case, a rounded volume. We have our highlight, and that denotes our light source. So our light source is in the upper right-hand corner off the picture. We have our midtones, which are in between the highlight and the core shadow. The core shadow is our darkest part of that sphere. And notice how the midtones and the core shadow all follow this curvature. In fact, it's the same type of curvature that we've been practicing with our ellipses, right? Our ellipses will help us guide and map out this value, this gradient. So make sure to note that, and we may map those in some more complex shapes in the future. We have reflected light. Now, reflected light is actually bounced light. So let's pretend that this volume, this sphere, is sitting on top of a white table. Well, this white table is reflected on this sphere, and some of that light is being bounced off. And so we just get a tiny little gradient shift from that core shadow to that reflected light. Notice that there's a nice outline. There's a nice contour line on the bottom, and then right up to the left side, and some of the right side as well. And then finally, there's a cast shadow. The cast shadow connotes that this object, this 3D form, is resting on a surface. So let's look at that, and we're going to draw that today and hopefully map out some different ways we can add in shading today to add to our element of art value. Okay guys, before we get into some volumetric shading with that sphere, let's practice a couple of ways on how to add value. So we're going to talk about shading types. And just so you know, there are numerous, vast amounts of ways to shade. I'm going to show you a couple. First off, let's draw some spheres here, some circles, and let's add value to these by first, we are going to use hatching. Now, hatching are lines made in one direction. So if I do vertical lines, notice I tried to emulate that sphere that we looked at earlier, all with vertical lines hatching. Notice that some are overlaid, some lines are thin, some lines are thick, and it's all based on your medium, right? I'm using a mechanical pencil. You can use a regular pencil, a pen. We'll get into pen later, but all of that line thickness will vary depending on what you use. Okay, let's talk about cross hatching. Cross hatching are in two or more directions. And let's start with that vertical again. And I've rotated my pencil so it's now on a thin line. Let's go in another direction and try to build up that value. Notice how adding in these other lines kind of change the direction, and we can even add in a third line this way to help sell that value shift, and even some lighter lines off here, right, all to help build up that value. Now this is very rudimentary, right, basic shading. This is nowhere near the quality of what I would expect for that big sphere that we just saw earlier, but we're just practicing different types of shading. So we have another version which is called scribbling, which you are most definitely used to. Scribbling. And I'm going to try to follow that curve again and beef up that curve and lighten up as I get to the highlight. Remember, our highlight is in the upper right hand corner, and then we get to our midtones and core shadow and reflected light. I think the only thing I'm not doing is the cast shadow, which is okay. Again, we're just practicing different types of shading on these circles. And there's some good scribbling going on there. Okay, let's practice another one, another type. Okay, we have pointillism. Now, pointillism will take you the longest amount of time because it deals with, you guessed it, dots or points. And so if you want a really refined look as you build these up, if you're the type of person that likes to be precise and you care about precision and craft and you don't care how long it takes, this is the process for you. If you're quick-natured and want to do things fast and get things done, I do not recommend this process, but it will give you the best and most refined look. So another kind of shading, another style is cross contour hatching, where we're going to go across this contour, much like our ellipse. Do you remember our ellipse practice, right? But we're going to go in one direction, and we're going to follow these lines, this cross contour lines, in one direction and make these hatching lines. Remember, hatching lines go in one direction, and we just happen to be following that curve as opposed to doing a straight line. So we're doing the hatching, building up that core shadow, going really light with our midtones. And that's cross contour hatching. Okay, let's do a variation on that. A variation on that would be broken cross contour. Broken cross contour follows that same path, but this time we use an implied line. It's tough not to make these solid, but it's good to practice to make these dotted lines. and then adjust your pressure of your pencil. Make it light and heavy, and it gives a nice texture to your sphere, almost like it's made out of stone or brick. Okay, so that's broken cross contour, and again you're using implied line to do that. Okay, let's try some others that aren't really standard, okay, but they still work. Let's do another version of the hatching, but let's go off in a different direction. It's not vertical this time. Let's go diagonal. Hatching is always good practice, right? It gives us a nice straight line when we hatch, and it's good practice because we get to know our pencil and how it works. Notice how the more and more I use my mechanical pencil, the wider that pencil lead gets. It's because I've been wearing down that hard, crisp edge. And notice the feathering I'm getting, which is nice. Okay. And let's just hatching again. Let's try a broken hatch line that's a little bit longer dashes. So almost like they're raindrops. Longer dashes to help build that up. Another different, we're playing with repetition here, but we're also getting this texture for free, right? It's almost like, again, either like grass or greens or sand in a way, and build that up. Here are my midtones going lighter, and they're staggered. It's random. Okay, let's try another one. This one's a play off the cross contour hatching. Cross contour hatching. This, I'm going to use the cross contour lines. Let me pencil in that curve as a guide. And this one is actually using dynamic line instead. Notice how the circle, the contour of the circles looks like it's disappearing in a way, right? But our mind fills in all of these gaps. Really cool way to achieve closure, which some of you did in your last project. That is a Gestalt effect or principle, Gestalt principle. But this is just a variation on that cross contour hatching. Just lines are dynamic now, thick and thin. Hey guys, I was going to show you all of these, but I want to save some for sketching with you. So I'm going to go ahead and have you switch over to your sketchbook, and we're going to draw together now. All right, guys, I'll see you soon. Bye.